I know you've heard of Theodore Herzl, but what if I told you Zionism's roots possibly are linked back to a false messiah who converted to Islam? Sabbatai Zevi was a 17th century mystic who claimed to be a Jewish messiah. Thousands believed in him, and the movement swept through Europe and the Ottoman Empire. And it wasn't any time in history. The year was 1666, a date that's been associated with apocalyptic prophecy and biblical symbolism. To many, it seemed like the end of the world and the beginning of a new spiritual order. In that year, tens of thousands across Europe had honestly believed that the Messiah had arrived. At the center of their belief, there was a promise that they would soon return to their Holy Land. Sabbatai Zevi and his followers often spoke of Palestine as their inherited destination, and this was not metaphorically, but geographically. Many believed that the gates of redemption would open not in heaven, but in Jerusalem. Some sold all of their belongings, and others left everything behind in their towns to prepare for redemption. But this Messiah, Sabbatai Zevi, would soon shock the world. When he was arrested by the Ottoman Sultan, he gave him two choices: one, to stick to his beliefs and be unalived, or to convert over to Islam. So publicly, he converted over to Islam, but surprisingly, his followers did not abandon him. They believed what he did was part of a divine plan. But it didn't end there. Zevi's teachings took a very dark turn. He believed that reaching salvation could only be achieved through sin, and to reach divine truth, one had to break God's laws. Pork was eaten on Yom Kippur, fasts were turned into feasts, and blasphemous prayers were said aloud out in public. Sabbateans would participate in ritual sex acts, convinced that violating taboos would usher in redemption. Apostasy was now sacred, blasphemy was holy. This belief system upended everything. Families were torn apart, and mass suicides were reported. What Zevi offered wasn't just mysticism, it was psychological chaos dressed in revelation, a theology of inversion, one that would go on to infect generations. Some say these teachings were what planted the seeds for what would blossom a century later, known as Frankism. This group became known as the Denme, an underground sect of blending Judaism, Islam, and mystical reinterpretations. What's often left out is how far his influence reached. The King of Poland reached out to Zevi to offer him support and protection. His ideas were tolerated and welcomed even by some of the Polish nobility. Why? Well, religious chaos makes political control easier. But Zevi's death didn't end the movement. Actually, his successor took things a lot further.